would like to call to order City of Lawrence Redevelopment Commission meeting for Thursday, April 8th, 2021. We do have a quorum, and I would like to have Joe read the statement for all of those listening or watching on Zoom.
All right, thank you, President Blunt. The public is invited to attend the RDC meetings. The RDC may impose reasonable restrictions on the number of attendees to control audience density in consideration of the existing COVID-19 national emergency. The public may participate remotely by dialing 463-777-8704, then entering PIN number 135991. Additionally, if you would like to provide comments remotely, please email them to joemurphy@cityoflawrence.org. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. I am assuming that everyone received the minutes prior to this meeting for the regular commission meeting and the executive session that we had in March. Are there any questions, concerns, comments on those meetings? And if not, can I have a motion to approve the minutes for the regular meeting back in March?
Second.
All right. I apologize. Was that for the regular or the executive session?
Regular.
Regular. All right. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. We will do roll call vote for approval of regular meeting minutes from March. David Blunt.
Approved.
Jerry Clifford.
Approved.
Cheryl Sullivan.
Approved.
Ray Rohana.
Approved.
Melissa Swindell.
Approved.
Thank you.
And same thing for the executive session. Are there any comments, concerns after reviewing the executive session meeting? And if not, can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for approval of executive session meeting minutes. Do a roll call vote for approval. David Blunt.
Approved.
Jerry Clifford.
Approved.
Cheryl Sullivan.
Approved.
Ray Rohana.
Approved.
Melissa Swindell.
Approved.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Joe. Moving on to claims and purchase orders. Mr. Fenwick, I'm sure everyone has seen it, created a beautiful presentation for us for the financial update. So, Jason, will you go over that packet, and can you also give us an update on the purchase orders and claims that we have?
Sure. Let me start with the claims first, if you have that. Most of this is no surprises here. The only thing I would point out, there were 2 invoices for payment to Ice Miller on this list, one of which was from July of last year. They had some, I'll just call it billing issues on their end. And so the July bill had never been sent out. And so that was work that had been done, but we didn't receive it until they sent the current invoice for work through February. So that's the only thing I would point out on that claims list. And then you should have received 2 financial updates. The first one.
Jason, can I interrupt you on the claims?
Sure.
I'm sorry. I just want to point out to the RDC that almost everything in this claim is for Freegee. Most of the Ice Miller work was for Freegee. The enviroforensics was the second phase, one we had to have for Freegee. The closing costs were for Freegee. So I think it's important for you to know what those claims were for, and that pretty much clears us out of the Freegee deal. Sorry, Jason.
No problem. Then there are two financial updates. The first one, which says RDC 2021 at the top, it has a picture of I think it was Williams Comfort on there. Nothing really to point out there. It's just kind of a snapshot of where we ended the first quarter of this year. If you look on page 3, that will have the current cash balances of each of the 3 RDC funds. The main one, which is our 406 redevelopment capital, which at the end of first quarter has 1.3 million. And then the debt reserve, which should never be anything but that number until those bonds mature. And then the third one's the Monarch Redevelopment Fund, which is just those funds go to pay the Monarch bonds that are outstanding. But I would like to spend maybe another minute on the second financial update, which is probably the more important one, which is just the pro forma that we provide. And so we have 5 years of actuals and then the 3 years that we have projected out. I think the last update of this one was provided at year end 2020. So the only thing that has changed to this point from the December update was I did add in the sale of the Shadeland property, which we did receive this month. And so the proceeds from sale of RDC property under the revenue section is higher than what was estimated in the pro forma because of the sale of Shadeland. So right now the 3-year pro forma ending cash balances based on what we know today are slightly higher than what we were looking at the end of 2020, which is good news. And thanks to Dan for his efforts and you as a commission and the repurposing of the Shadeland property. So other than that, unless there are any questions, I don't have anything else to add.
Jason, I do have a question. Can you tell me what's going on with the Monarch TIF? Does that change at all with the change of ownership in Monarch?
To my knowledge, it does not change what will happen to what's been happening in our Monarch TIF, which is the proceeds generated off of that are basically go to pay the debt outstanding on Monarch, similar to what was done with Meyer Plastic. So I'm not aware of there being, and maybe Bruce could opine if there would have been something in a bond document on that might have caused the change, but I'm not aware of any.
No, the only way there would be any change is if Monarch actually sold the bond as part of its sale. As long, we just pay the bond payments to whoever the registered bondholder is, and it's been Monarch, right, Jason? And
yes,
that'll continue to be the case until we're notified as to something different.
Okay. All right, if anyone has any questions? If not, could I have a motion for approval for the claims and purchase orders?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for approval of claims and purchase orders. We'll do a roll call vote for approval. David Blunt.
Approved.
Jerry Clifford.
Approved.
Cheryl Sullivan.
Approved.
Ray Rohana.
Approved.
Melissa Swindell.
Approved.
Thank you, Joe. All right, Dan, we're to you. Yeah, we have only old business today, but it's a nice list of old business. So, Dan, if you want to go ahead and take it away.
Actually, I have one item of new business, just as an advisory that Jason and Joe and I have been exposed to that I thought I would share with the RDC. And I think Cheryl might get so excited about this, knowing her, she might jump out of her skin. But we had a meeting with NDOT last week.
Yay.
Regarding the upgrade of State Road 36, or as you know it, Pendleton Pike. And as we shared with you and you saw with NDOT, they're going to put new dividing lanes or medians all the way out north of 56th Street intersection in 2004. But as part of that project, they've offered to the city to make those landscape medians instead of hard medians. So if you're familiar with as you go to Beech Grove or different places where the medians are divided and you have trees and shrubs and those kind of beautiful things down through the center, they've offered to create that for the city and engineer it that way. Now, what the city's going to have to look at is how do we afford the cost of maintaining it and all the implications involved with those sorts of things. But you can only imagine with what we're trying to do with the trades district and the rebranding of the city, how that could really start to change the view of the city and the impact of the city going forward. So I wanted to make you aware that that's something we're looking at very strongly, and will tie into the work that you all are helping do, and I think could really help promote the city. So you'll be hearing.
Great. Very, very excited about that. You are correct. That's tremendous for Pendleton Pike. And I jotted down a note that I was going to also ask you, Dan, as far as the update from the state following, it was, what was that, November, December meeting? They were going to get back with you about the overhead utility lines. Did they give you any indication of where that was?
Give me any indication, and I didn't expect any. They're going to hide from that. I don't think there's any way, Cheryl, they'll ever touch that. But that has not been discussed.
Okay.
We will have.
That would be the next step. I mean, it would add so much to that entrance to Lawrence.
I think we're a long way from getting that done, but just to get this done would be a huge, major thing. So, by the way, on my screen, it just flashed up from, and I want to thank Cheryl and David and Joe for making this happen on our end. It just flashed up from Brad Smith at Stern Investments that they've executed the purchase and sale agreement for the 4,400 properties. So we should have that back tomorrow. And Bruce and Dan Harding were extremely instrumental in that. So just to kind of, I'll go ahead and jump through that one since I brought it up. It's item 4, but since I already mentioned it, I do want to make you aware that we had to give 2 concessions in the purchase and sale agreement. And you had all authorized Bruce and me to negotiate that on your behalf. But they weren't used to dealing with public entities, and they were really kind of taken back at our 60% buyback option, and felt like that was somewhat of a threat because they indicated they expected to spend $30,000 to $50,000 in due diligence of various types before this was all over, and they didn't want to have to sell the property back to us at 60% if they were going to spend another $50,000 investigating it. So we gave them 2 concessions in that regard, and those were the only 2 concessions. One is we gave them an extra year of leeway, so they could take up to 3 years to develop the project. I don't see that happening at all. They've got money and time invested. They're going to want that on the books as fast as possible, but for their own legal protection to the buyback, they wanted an extra year, so we gave them that. And we also agreed that if the RDC did execute the buyback option, that we would give them up to $20,000 of their due diligence back. Keep in mind that we got $22,000 more than our nearest offer, and we don't intend to buy it back anyway. We just want that there as pressure to be sure that the development gets done. So that's the 2 things we did and why we did, but it's all been executed, and that project's rolling forward now. So be fun to see that take place. And at any point in these discussions that I'm revealing to you, if you have a question, just ask as we go. The deposit has been paid by Frank Speak and his group on the house demolition that you approved last month, and they expect that to be down in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So that should be a big improvement along Franklin Road. I am trying to negotiate, it's not on here, but I think the property address is 4405 Franklin. That's that little ugly building, sits right there by the railroad at 46th and Franklin. It's all boarded up. I do continue to try to buy that building for the RDC to buy it. And I continue to have dialogue with the trustee for that group, but we're not quite there yet. Freegee, all the documents have been signed. The AT&T engineering deposit for the problem we talked about and you approved helping with last month, the engineering is going on. If they haven't started already, and I haven't been in Lawrence for a week, but if they have started, I would expect by next week that you see some equipment moving.
Dan, I can, if you don't mind, I'll chime in and comment on it. They, as of 2 days ago, they've been moving dirt on that property and kind of starting to clear some stuff out of there. So they are already on site, starting to mobilize.
Great. Well, I know they sent notice yesterday that they were going to demolish the old dumpster, and we're letting Mill Supply knew that they were going to be without a dumpster enclosure for a couple of weeks. But I know that they're starting on building the new Plummer Street and cleaning off the site. And I think you're really going to see a lot of progress there in a hurry. That should be really exciting for us to watch. That was another big discussion we had with NDOT was relative to that whole intersection. Because as you know, with racetrack there, the bank there, Freegee there, 60, 80 vehicles from Freegee, let alone all the trucks and cars getting on a racetrack, there's a lot of discussion about adding lanes and turn lanes and widening that intersection at Sellers going on, and the state's now involved in that. That was a big part of our call. I think, Jason, that's one of the best benefits we got out of that call. So we've all been concerned about that, but that's going to get some significant attention now. So anyway, Freegee's underway. We've asked the the Greater Lawrence Chamber to help hold a groundbreaking for that project. So I think you'll be hearing more about that really soon. 4711 German Church nothing's really changed other than Joe does continue to get interest, and I'm not willing to just give it away. I'm holding out for the right entity for that project, and when we get a chance, we'll bring it to you and negotiate a deal. So I've asked Joe to kind of keep an eye on it, be sure the sign's up right, and at some point in the year, we'll probably have to have somebody go out and bush hog it if we don't get it sold first. So we'll talk about that as we get closer. I've shared with you the Franklin Road property conveyance. It's all complete now. I did get I guess you'd call it a progress report from Christopher Burke regarding the Cato Ferris wetland study. It was basically blank, basically said they had been doing their homework behind the scenes and they'd be mobilizing on the site this week. So I would expect by the time we're together next month, I'll have a more complete progress report of how they're coming with that study. The Harrison Woods replat parcel initiative is really interesting. I could show some exhibits for you, but I'll probably wait and do it next month. Banning has completed their survey work of the parcel and the right-of-ways, has prepared a proposed replat and a proposed new legal description. Now we have our new attorney, Caitlin, and her partner at Taft, Chul Lee. They're starting to look at the procedures that we have to bring to the council and what we have to do to be able to clear that and move that project forward. And the intent is for the RDC, as we've spoken all along, to convey that to the CDC and Chris Barnett, who my guess is will use Habitat for Humanity and build a home there and get that back on the tax rolls. My other reason for wanting to get that done, and it's really not, the RDC becomes involved as we sell the house, but there's also the Board of Works, and it's pretty complicated. And we probably spent fairly significant money to give away a piece of parcel. But on the other hand, the city's paying costs associated with maintaining that, and we have liability. So in the end, it's just good to clean it up. And Crediplex is the next interesting one. You all very graciously authorized the use of our EPA grant to do a phase 2 to help them sell that parcel and lease it. Their attorney let me know last week that they are rescinding that, and they don't want our money, and they don't want to do a phase 2. And I think that what's happened is their counsel has said there may be enough issues with this that we don't want anybody to know. That's my guess. So at any rate, they have pulled back our grant and rescinded that to the EPA. So that money is going to sit in our account. There is nothing new on Crediplex to report. Then with regards to the Trades District Master Plan, we had a great round of stakeholder meetings, which a lot of you participated in. I do want to point out that April 22nd, isn't that the correct date, Joe, I believe?
Yeah, that's correct.
At 6:30 in the evening, I believe.
Yep, in this building right here.
6:30 at the Public Assembly Room, we're having a public whiteboard session. And we have sent invitations to any business holder in the Trades District. And I believe that all the property holders got notices of that. And I know that they're out because I've had 3 or 4 really influential, such as the CEO and local manager of the SAIC Engineering Group, whom I'm not met, reached out to me yesterday by email to let me know that he would be in attendance. But I think that whiteboard session on the 22nd, for any of you can make, is really important for you to attend. And we'll try to social distance appropriately and make it work. But I think it could be very informative, and I think we'll get a lot of good feedback as a result of that session.
Did you say 6:30?
6:30, yeah, in the Public Assembly Room. They intend to break that out into groups and scatter the groups out around the building, give everybody some distance, and they're going to be there tomorrow checking out the Public Assembly Room in the building, determining how they want to do that. But I think it's going to be a really important session to this whole process. There are a number of other initiatives going on that really don't involve the RDC, but it's a really exciting time. I believe that the only 2 remaining parcels south of 56th Street in the FHRA now have purchase offers on them. We were in a meeting today. It was, I can't really share with you the details of that meeting yet, but we learned of both projects, and I think that one of them in particular will really be good for the community. We also still are having discussions about a new medical facility over off of 56th Street. There's a new VA facility to be built right there by the overpass on that one remaining parcel to the east. That's supposed to happen yet this year. The Sandy deal with the Starbucks has been inked. The library is supposed to have their plans in within the next couple of months. Harrison and Ford's expansion's set to go yet this year. Just a tremendous amount of things going on in the city right now. Jason and the mayor and their leadership and this group and all the way everybody's collaborating, just allowing a lot of good things to happen. So I'll take any questions if anybody has any, but that's really all I have to share today.
Dan, I don't know the last time you've been in the area, but since I was on spring break, they put up some park signage, and I think it looks awesome. So when you're passing parks, there's just big signs, City of Lawrence, then it gives the name of the park, Mayor Steve Collier. I know it's simple, but I think it is great.
Good.
Hey, David, if I could add to those park signs, which I agree with you, those are a tremendous improvement over the former signs we had. But I would like to give credit for the sign design to an individual named Ethan Marasco. He's an intern in my office. He also designed the city seal, the city flag, the crosswalks, and he is a senior in high school. So Ethan has done a fantastic job in his time here, and he came up with the design for those park signs.
Yeah, they look great. Is he Lawrence North, Lawrence Central, McKenzie?
I don't recall. He went through Lawrence schools through middle school. He's a cathedral student at this point.
I didn't really mention the 10148 parcel that we've talked about several times. It's in the right-of-way at 56th Street, of old 56th Street, where new 56th and Pendleton come together. Banning's about 2/3 of the way through their survey there. It does look like we're going to have a pretty nice parcel to break free there when we're done. Joe, I thought maybe you would like to just provide a little update on the parks. You've got so many parks initiatives going on. That's always of interest to this group in terms of quality of life.
Sure, I'd be happy to provide some things. Well, we mentioned the park signage. That was a huge initiative that we just completed. We are wrapping up the design and moving on to engineering for the redevelopment of Civic Plaza. That's going to be an exciting new construction project that's going to start this fall. Let's see, what else have we got going on? We are working towards applying for some new grants for additional recreation and trail infrastructure. We have a lot going on right now with Fall Creek Bay. Oh, there you go. There's our new park signage.
Beautiful.
Yep. I was just going to add that, yeah,
I'm not sure if this is Indianapolis or us, but the sidewalks that are kind of going over by where you stay, those are going to be great. Even the stuff that they've already done is great. So
on that note, David, during our NDOT discussions the other day, they indicated that all of the places along Pendleton Pike and that whole stretch where they're going to do the medians, any place where sidewalks aren't connected, they're going to connect them. They're going to place a lot of emphasis on getting the sidewalks and the ADA compliance and all that infrastructure largely put back the way it ought to be as part of the project. So I thought that was nice as well.
There's also the arts cultural area is going to be opened mid-May. So once we get the final date, can let everybody know as well.
Great. Anything else to come before the group?
I'm sorry, just as an FYI, this evening at 6:30, there's a community information meeting regarding the new Fort Bend Library. It's a Zoom meeting. 180 people have registered to attend it. It's nice to see that there's that level of interest in that project, and that Ratio Architects will be actually leading the meeting.
Jason, would you like to provide any kind of update at all from the FHRA of like the PX building or any of those sort of things?
I do know on the PX building there is an offer. Actually, they received 4 offers. There was one that was clearly head and shoulders above the other 3, and I think they're moving forward with getting an agreement in place for the repurposing of that, which I think will be a mix of basically office space, but it was a really good proposal. Trying to think if there's anything else. I do know at some point we hope yet this year to we've got the crosswalks that have been installed at 59th and Lee and varying parts of Lawrence. We intend to move those into parts of FHRA as well, but they'll be more distinct in terms of where you are within FHRA. So there will be more of that to come. But I think that's, Dan, all I have to add at this point.
Great. Final call. Anything else anybody wants to share?
I have one more thing. I was driving around yesterday and I saw the marsh, the old marsh from Franklin. There's people in there and there's cars there and there's stuff going on. And I know that was something we did 6 or 8 months ago, but it's nice to see that building have some activity to it right now.
It's my intent for Joe and I to go over there and just make a call on them and express our appreciation and see how they're doing sometime in the near future.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're done.
I have a question for Jason. Sorry. Jason, are you talking about the old PX building on Lawton Loop East?
Yes.
Okay. There's several buildings called the PX building, so just want to clarify.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Back to you, Mr. Chair.
All right. If there is no other business to come before the commission, can I have approval to adjourn this meeting? Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for adjournment. We'll do a roll call vote. David Blunt,
Approved.
Jerry Clifford,
Approved.
Cheryl Sullivan. Cheryl Sullivan.
I think she's frozen.
All right. Ray Rohana.
Approved.
Melissa Swindell.
Approved.
Cheryl's back.
Cheryl, are you voting yes on the adjournment, I assume?
Say that again, Joe?
Cheryl, are you a yes on
Yes,
adjournment?
approved.
Thank
Approved.
you. All right, thank you. Great.
All right, thank you, guys. Meeting adjourned.
Hope to see you all on the 22nd.